Welcome to the Now. I'm Ashley.
I'm Brian.
I mean, DC cannot seem to catch a break. Like, we're to the point now where at first it was like, oh, that's funny. And now it's just like, ugh. Yeah. Last March, Joss Whedon was announced as writing and directing a standalone Batgirl movie. I can't actually believe it's been that long, but it has. Before this announcement, he'd been a big part of DC's cinematic brain trust, ended up taking over Justice League after Zack Snyder had to step away due to the death of his daughter.
Yeah, it really seemed like a no-brainer to have one of the most established writers of badass female characters bring Barbara Gordon's Batgirl to the big screen for her own movie. Especially, you think about it, he did so much to build up Marvel's Avengers, and then he dove deep into DC.
Look, I mean, the man created Buffy,
Yeah.
so we gotta give him some credit there. And
credit.
he made Black Widow, one of the more interesting characters in the first Avengers movie. He can be polarizing. Yes, there's been a lot of talk that his female characters don't do enough to break tradition, accusations of false feminism. A lot of people like him, a lot of people really don't. But he is responsible for developing a lot of iconic female characters, so it was, at the time, made sense. Like, why not Batgirl?
Yeah, especially because DC could definitely use the help of someone who's had success, I don't know, bringing comic book characters to the screen.
Since that's what they're looking for.
It seems like a skill set they could use.
His presence alone wasn't enough to right the great ship Justice League exactly. That movie came out to below average box office, overall a lot of negative reviews, which left the whole DCEU in a state of chaos and panic, which led to a billion questions about the future of DC's film output. It was interesting, you could see, you don't know 100% what was Whedoned after Zack Snyder stepped away. There were a couple little scenes that were like, oh, this is a Whedon. But you're not sure what he was working with either.
Right.
But let's start by looking at the Whedon situation.
Yeah, so the official line about him stepping away from Batgirl is that it was amicable. Of course, aren't they all amicable? And
Yeah, we just, agree to disagree.
Yeah, sure. Nobody's ever fought in Hollywood.
We're gonna take a break.
Yeah, Whedon said it was his failure at cracking the story. He said, quote, Batgirl is such an exciting project and Warner's DC such collaborative and supportive partners that it took me months to realize I really didn't have a story.
He thanked DC President Jeff Johns and Warner Brothers President Toby Emmerich for welcoming him and understanding when I, is there a sexier word for failed?
Fucked up.
Yeah, that's sexier.
In short, he's taking the hit. He's saying his departure has nothing to do with the DC hierarchy and that he simply failed to find a story that would do justice to the character.
I mean, reading between the lines, though, there's a lot more going on than he's saying. I mean, isn't that always the way? There's a good dozen Barbara Gordon stories he could have pulled from the comics, so why would he be having so much trouble? Right? I mean, word is that DC was shaken up by Justice League underperforming and been in a bit of a panic ever since.
Yeah, that makes sense, because Justice League, that was going to be their Avengers. That was going to be their giant runaway hit, and to have it fizzle, that puts a wet blanket on things.
It was supposed to be their movie that couldn't fail. Right. But when that movie failed...
They found a way.
Yep. There was a huge shakeup at the executive level of Warner Brothers. They've been shuffling in new leaders in an attempt to figure out exactly what's wrong and fix it. You're losing directors on everything left and right, not just this Batgirl project. It's not the most stable environment to be working with at the best of times. And also, Whedon's not exactly a stranger to conflict with studios.
Yeah, the first Avengers, that was definitely an unqualified hit, but he famously butted heads with Marvel during Avengers Age of Ultron. I wouldn't be surprised if all that uncertainty and the lack of singular vision led to a ton of creative frustration for him.
Well, and potentially on both sides as well, because the studios want to be working with a director who will, take basically what they want, which is a commercial hit, and make it happen.
Right.
And the director wants the support of a studio who will just allow their vision to happen. It's been working really well with Marvel. Like, they're getting a lot of really unique directors, like Taika Waititi did something that hadn't been done with a Thor movie.
Right.
And it worked out great, but it was risky.
Right.
Yeah. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that with multiple decades worth of really solid comic appearances, his own natural instincts for telling really big, fun stories, Whedon just couldn't come up with a good Batgirl plot in a year. I don't know. What makes more sense is that the behind-the-scenes world at DC is a rat's nest of conflicting opinions and panicked executives and struggling to forge what really should be a very easy path of bringing these huge, iconic superheroes to the big screen.
Yeah, good case in point. Their slate of upcoming movies, it's all kinds of schizophrenic right now. We don't know if they're recasting Ben Affleck's Batman or what the grander plan is for their post-Justice League phase. Probably because the studio itself doesn't know what the hell they want to do.
I mean, they've got Flashpoint. It's the Flash film starring Ezra Miller. That's in the works, but directors John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein revealed they haven't signed a deal yet, which means this project is still far from a guarantee.
And then there's the clusterfuck that's the Batman movie.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, Matt Reeves, the latest director working on that. War for the Planet of the Apes director. He's a big get for DC, but we still don't know if Ben Affleck's going to return, which is bonkers.
Yeah, they keep talking about potentially recasting him. He's like, I'm not sure if I'm going to return, but...
Yeah, but can you imagine Marvel announcing a new Iron Man movie and it not being a guarantee that we were going to get Robert Downey Jr. back?
Although, I guess that's what Flashpoint is theoretically for, to allow them to reset stuff, but it's still crazy they're pulling that ace out of their pocket this early in the game.
Yeah, they've been pulling too many aces out of and the aces have quotes around them.
Speaking of weird casting, there's also the standalone Joker movie that Joaquin Phoenix is in early talks to join, but if he does, he'll only play the Joker for this one project, and Jared Leto is still expected to return as the Clown Prince of Crime in further DCEU films, which includes a potential Suicide Squad sequel that's been semi-confirmed because, hey, remember, it did win an Oscar.
But we're not done. Same with a standalone Cyborg movie, same with a Harley Quinn-led group film called Gotham City Sirens, a film that focuses on Harley and Joker, and a Green Lantern Corps movie. All these things, they've been discussed publicly, but they seem to be, they're like the vaporware of movies. They're just out there somewhere. Maybe they'll happen, maybe they won't.
They'll need to each lose like 3 directors first before they actually happen.
Yeah.
Now, there are actually only 3 films we know 100% for sure we are getting. That's Wonder Woman 2, Shazam, that's Aquaman. Shazam's currently filming with Zachary Levi in the lead. Wonder Woman 2 is gearing up with Patty Jenkins back in the director's chair. That has a November 1st, 2019 release date, and that one is no huge surprise considering the success of Wonder Woman. And Aquaman is in post-production now.
Yeah, and in fact, Aquaman, they recently heard of that. Yeah, and in fact, Aquaman, they recently had a very, very early test screening. Word leaked out, super positive. People liked it. They said James Wan knocked it out of the park, that he delivered a movie that's both high on spectacle and lands emotionally. That's a pretty solid twofer for a comic book movie.
Also, I think really good for people wondering if an Aquaman movie was going to turn out really bad, because in Justice League, he was basically just like, oh, I'm a surfer bro, what's up? I'm going to surf on your car. And it was like, oh, this is what you're going with for the standalone, we could be in a world of hurt. So I'm actually really pleased to see this response to the Aquaman movie because I want it to be good.
Yeah.
I really like Jason
Momoa.
Momoa.
I want them all to be good.
Yeah. So there are a lot of issues.
A lot of issues.
But despite the feeling of a lack of solid direction at a studio level, the DCEU is still very far from dead. I mean, a lot of films may not be playing for critics, maybe not even landing with audiences if you're going by user ratings, but hey, there is a very loyal fan base there, mostly consisting of Greg Miller, and even the most critically derided DCEU movies are still making okay money, especially when you consider their worldwide take.
Yeah, they had total success with Wonder Woman, both critically, box office-wise. Looks like they may have another winner with Aquaman if the test screening, word of mouth, that's any indication.
Fingers crossed.
Good. Yeah, it's looking good.
Now, there is hope they find their footing. It could be really, really great if they do. Justice League may have been a little disappointing. It was watchable. It wasn't bad, but that's also not necessarily the accolade that you want for your film. You know,
Didn't make my eyes bleed. Yeah.
Yeah, so finally, I guess after 3 films now, they got Superman in a place where he gets to act like Superman. I don't know, if they figure out what the hell they're doing with Batman, they might actually be able to save all this.
Yeah, and since Joss Whedon is out, maybe the silver lining here is that allows Warner Brothers to bring in some strong female voices to tell Batgirl's story. Worked out great for Wonder Woman. Patty Jenkins is probably busy. Ask her who they should hire.
Yeah, just be like, hey, got anyone else you
do you
recommend?
like?
Right. Bring really, there's no shortage of great female storytellers who were eager to jump in and take on the job. Roxane Gay, novelist, comic writer known for Marvel's short-lived Black Panther spinoff called World of Wakanda, tweeted her interest and received a quick response from Warner Brothers Vice President Michelle Wells, who wants to set up an interview. So that's pretty interesting, I guess. Job interviews and pitches now take place over Twitter. Roxanne's not alone. Batgirl comic writer Hope Larson also volunteered to deliver the Batgirl story that seemed to elude Joss Whedon for a year. And as a Batgirl writer, she might be a good candidate.
She probably has a few up her sleeve, yeah. So a lot of DC slate. It's unclear right now. They haven't figured out how to get their house in order yet. But one thing's clear. They got the characters.
They have great characters.
Yeah, legendary. They're starting to pull in the right creative voices to finally find some solid footing. If they can just stop losing directors.
Yeah, well, there's still no excuse for the Jared Leto Joker, though. And we can all agree that he's got to go, right? We can agree on that?
I think Joaquin will be a good Joker.
I think he would be, too.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to make him get damage tattooed across his forehead to just really keep it subtle?
No, he's too good for that. He's too good.
So what do you think about Joss Whedon exiting Batgirl? Who would you like to see in the director's seat? Leave us your thoughts in the comments.
And for all your DC and really all comic book movies, like this video. If you're new around here, subscribe to the now.
Warner Brothers President Toby Emmerich for welcoming him. Blah, 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 blah.
Critically, box office wise, looks like they may have enough win.
Look, there's no shortage of a lot of really great female storytellers. They are kind of storytellers.
That's a good story.